Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for the music string quartet. That was a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful performance and rendition. To the heads of states, I can now report what your ministers were busy with during the week. I had an opportunity to take them to Umlazi, a township on the outskirts of Durban. They enjoyed a lot of music, culture. Some of them were singing to Amabinga, Maskandi music, and there's videos to prove it. But I can confirm that they did that after they've done a lot of work. So it was not by them absconding from their duties. You will see from the reports tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, I will now request us to stand up and welcome His Excellency, President Ramaphosa, to address all of us as the host of the banquet. Your Excellency, only the heads of states can sit, yeah. All the heads of states can sit, but all of us who can stand in honor.
Thank you. Let's be seated, please. Program Director, Minister Lamula, the Minister of International Relations and Cooperation of South Africa, heads of states and government, Your Excellencies, Mr. Mahosi, the Executive Secretary of Sadc, the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal and other premiers who are here present, our ministers who've been working extremely hard over the past few days, heads of delegations who are also here present, and all of you who are our guests, and thank you for honoring our invitation to be with us, to dine with us. It is indeed a great pleasure to welcome you all to eThekwini, one of our big cities and the main capital city of KwaZulu-Natal. From a commercial point of view, the government city is further north. Sadc has, after several days of meetings, had discussions amongst our ministers, as Minister Lamula was saying. They've also had reports which they are going to present tomorrow. And I'm sure that you'll agree that we have finally reached what I would call one of the most important programs of Sadc, which is the dinner that we are having tonight. I have learned from many Sadc meetings and gatherings that regional integration does indeed advance much further when speeches are short and the dinner is served on time. So I'm not going to be making a long speech. The welcome by the Minister and the Premier of KZN should suffice. We welcome you not simply as distinguished guests and visitors, but as members of one Southern African family. And Sadc is indeed a family. It was born, as you will have heard, from the struggle for political liberation and has evolved into an instrument for economic emancipation and regional integration. And through Sadc, our countries work together to preserve peace, to expand trade, to foster economic development, to build regional infrastructure, and to improve the lives of our peoples. It is founded on a simple but powerful understanding that none of our nations can achieve its full potential if those nations work alone in isolation, and Southern Africa will prosper only if it prospers together. It is therefore a community of nations that are bound together by history, by geography, by traditions and cultures, languages that are diverse, and by a common destiny. But tonight we are also bound together by hunger and the need to have dinner together. Sadc has an interesting way of taking decisions. In simple terms, as the Executive Secretary might tell you, it works as follows. A regional challenge is identified, and this can be identified by any of the states in Southern Africa, and indeed by the Secretariat itself. But tonight, that challenge has been identified as hunger, which all of you are now experiencing. You are all hungry, as I can see you. And technical experts and officials develop proposals that should lead to the solution of that challenge. And the chef gets involved in finding solutions. And senior officials scrutinize this, which includes the Executive Secretary. He's also played a role in crafting the menu that you are having, together with Minister Lamula as well. So if you don't like what you're eating, I want to tell you who to blame: the Executive Secretary and Minister Lamula. Because the Council of Ministers, on having identified the challenge, are then charged with the responsibility of considering the recommendations that need to be made to find solutions. And heads of state and government take the final decision. And you could be tempted to say, did I take the final decision on the menu tonight? No, I didn't. So we're overjoyed today to have so many of you here, including the various political parties that are represented in our parliament, whether they are in the government of national unity or also in opposition. And in Sadc, we are indeed a family. We do not always agree on everything. Sometimes we tend to repeat ourselves. Sometimes the discussions continue for much longer than they should, and our speeches are at times elongated. And that is why my input or speech tonight is not going to be long. But in the end, we remain together as a community. And as we remain together, we always take decisions that are meant to advance the interests of the peoples of Southern Africa. This is the strength of our community. We are bound together by the decisions that were taken by our forebears, who took decisions to form this community. And KwaZulu-Natal is a fitting place for our regional family to gather tonight. This province is the birthplace and home of great African leaders, as we have heard. Nkosi Luthuli, Albert Luthuli, John Langalibale Ledube, and Pixlika Isakaseme. They were visionaries who believed in African unity, human dignity, and the power of people working together. They would surely be encouraged to see us gathered here tonight in pursuit of the vision that they crafted right at the beginning when they formed our community. They might, however, be surprised by the number of acronyms that we have now crafted, but they would be impressed with the way in which we have forged unity over the years. KwaZulu-Natal is also renowned for the warmth of its people, the richness of its cultures, and of course, the courage of the cuisine that you find here. Some of you may already have encountered a proper Durban curry, and if during dinner you find yourself urgently asking for water, please do not regard it as a diplomatic incident. It is simply part of the full KwaZulu-Natal experience. Over the past several days, our ministers and senior officials and the Sadc Secretariat have worked, as Minister Lamola was saying, extremely hard to prepare for tomorrow's summit. And I'd like to thank them and applaud them for the excellent work that they have done. They have in many ways considered policies, negotiated texts, and carefully examined every paragraph, and I'm sure more than a few commas as well. They often make our tasks as heads of state much easier in that they do all the hard work, the heavy lifting, and all of us seated on this table, we take the glory. So we're very pleased to have our ministers and officials. We thank them for their dedication. They've also earned our appreciation, and perhaps for this evening, at least the right not to hear words such as subject to further consultation. So tomorrow we return to the serious business of building our region, the serious business of advancing the interests of the people of Southern Africa. We will discuss how to strengthen our economies, to expand trade, to deepen industrialization, improve regional infrastructure, and create opportunities, ability to integration and to development. These are weighty responsibilities, but tonight we are reminded that diplomacy is not conducted only across conference tables. It also happens around dinner tables. It happens through conversation, through laughter, through music and friendships. We're very delighted to see so many of you who are friends, who are business leaders, who are political leaders, who are public servants, and who are friends generally, that you have come together to be with us. It was fascinating for me to have the Prime Minister of Lesotho here. He came a few days earlier. And when I asked him what he had, whether he had enjoyed himself, he said yes, he enjoyed himself greatly and even took a dip in the waters of the Indian Ocean. Now we get water from Lesotho as South Africa. And I kept thinking whether he was tempted to take the water out of the Indian Ocean, reroute it to the mountains of Lesotho, then sell it to us. I think he might have been tempted to do so. But it's been a joy to have so many of you having come earlier, and those who just arrived recently. As the Premier of KwaZulu-Natal said, it would be wonderful if you stay a little longer to enjoy. But ladies and gentlemen, this evening is about enjoying ourselves, enjoying the music, and we will not insist on protocol. The only resolution before us now is that nobody should leave this room hungry. And the only communique we expect is a favorable report on the food and the hospitality. Tonight, let us renew old friendships and begin new ones as well. And let us also celebrate the extraordinary diversity of our region, a region of some 430 million people, whose GDP is getting close to $1 trillion. This is an important region in the architecture of our continent, and a region with a common destiny, a region that binds us all together. So let us do everything we can to advance regional integration, have one conversation, one song, and perhaps even one dance at a time. Now, Minister Lamula kept saying that we'll be able to dance, but I don't see a dancing floor. And if there was a dancing floor, I would be encouraging you all to take to the floor and dance. Because if you do so, no country will lose its sovereignty by joining in the dance floor. So, Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, and I'd now like to ask all of us to rise and join me in a toast to the unity and the friendship of the Sadc family. May our meetings become shorter, our trade corridors faster, our borders more efficient, and our friendships ever stronger. So let's all raise our glasses, which I don't have, and drink to the prosperity of our region and to the good health and happiness and success of all our citizens, including our leaders as well. So thank you. So I say cheers to all of you, and thank you very much for being here. Thank you. Cheers.
Another round of applause for His Excellency. Thank you very much, Mr. President, for your very brief address, yielding to regional integration. And regional integration can happen in many formats. Firstly, we will not only want to see the cutting of the ribbons on catalytic infrastructure in the region, but we will also be glad to be invited to weddings in the DRC, in Zimbabwe, where it started tonight. So there's many forms that regional integration can take. So the President has given you an opportunity to be involved, to network, so that regional integration can flourish. Thank you very much, Your Excellency. We will now be thrilled to the entertainment again by the music string quintet. You now have the floor, and also as they do so, the main course will be served. And again, please do enjoy the wine. Thank you very much.